So just break the cubes up for them. Yeah, you can see them. And then, so this is Callie, and she is his mom. This is Alicia. Yeah, that's his mom. And then this is Lacey.
This is our Jack. Have you ever seen a lemon this size? I mean, I
thought it was like literally like a.
When it's still a seedling or a kinky, the leaf actually resembles more like halekoa.
Yeah, halekoa. Yeah, I was just gonna ask that.
Yeah, so of course, as Hawaiians got the halekoa introduced, you could see how it kind of derived its name ha'olekoa, or today as we know it's halekoa, is because the leaf resembled a koa tree. A kinky koa leaf to an adult leaf. Yeah, isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. And the halekoa doesn't do that. It just stays like this all the way.
Doing some burgers and some dogs for dinner tonight. A little bit of pork and beans. Can't go wrong. Brought a Joe. What we caught in our trap. It's a little bitty piggy. He ate all the food. He's about 50, 60 pounds. Here we're removing invasive species. These things are what I call devil vines. The reason I call them devil vines is because they got these horrible, nasty thorns on them. And they come in and they wrap themselves around all the trees and start to choke off the indigenous plants. And these things are actually raspberries. They're Himalayan raspberry bushes, and they're not easy to get out. They have thorns all over them. And yeah, well, here you can see these are edible. These are different. The ones that give new meaning to the word breakfast sandwich. You've got a piece of bread, link sausage, rice, and eggs in a sandwich. Let's see it. Take a bite. Is it good?
There's also polo, which is another native species that belongs here. doesn't have thorns. Because remember I was explaining the native species didn't really have any threats, right? They didn't have any mammals that would threaten them. So by finding this with thorns, which of course is the thistle, we know it's an invasive species, so we have to remove it. And the best way that we found is literally just pulling it. So what you want to do is you want to get down to the base of it. So kind of reaching underneath these leaves, because those thorns, they're nasty. You know, reaching underneath the leaves and getting to the main stump, the main root of it, getting your hand around it with the no-cry gloves, you can get in there and basically pull out that taproot. That's what we're looking for. Yeah. That won't come back. You know?
There it is, the taproot. The Himalayan raspberry is an invasive species that chokes off the koa trees and other indigenous species. As we're trying to recreate the biodiversity of the forest, we have to remove the endangered, the invasive berries.
So the Manuiva, to me, and where the thought was, is that as a navigating, voyaging society, the Manuiva is our guide, and to guide our lahui to our future.
invasive species this time around. So we're now reforesting koa trees in an area that we've planted previously, and they're digging a hole. The hole is about that deep. They're going to test this to make sure the hole is the right depth, which it is. And then they're going to take this goop, which helps the tree get water. It's like a gelatin. And they put that into the hole, and that will help the roots from the keiki tree. Keiki means child in Hawaiian. And they're going to mash that up a little bit so it comes out nice and smooth. And they're going to turn it upside down, not to harm the tree, keep the tree off the ground. They're going to pull it out of the starter cup, maybe. You kind of tap it, it'll come out. There you go. It comes out, and then they're careful, they turn it back over, and they put it straight in the ground, and then they fill in the dirt, the existing dirt that's all around it. We do have some other soil that we can supplement it with. We want to use, not the grass, we want to use the dirt. This soil has years of nutrients. It's volcanic soil. It's actually used to be a cow pasture. They cut all the koa trees down, or the whole forest actually, to make room for cattle. And Joe and Kristen bought the pasture land, and the guys at Habilitat and other groups as well are helping to reforest the area to bring back the biodiversity of the natural Hawaiian rainforest. So we're planting koa trees. This is a baby koa tree. For those of you who don't know, koa wood is a wood that's very sought after. It's also very rare because they cut all the forest down. So they fill it in with dirt, and they're going to supplement it with some other soil that has been mixed specifically for this particular thing. And they're going to pack it in a little bit, and they're going to create a little basin. As you see, the basin's already being made. You got to put love into this. You think happy thoughts, you think about the people in your life that you love, and you realize that you're giving back to the forest at this point. So he's going to pack it down. He's going to make a little basin. You see it's a little bit spongy. He's going to pack it down, and then make a little basin, and then they're going to add water. Go ahead and grab the water. And they're not going to pour on the root, they're going to pour away from the root so that it rolls down into, there you go. Because water will always seek level. You don't want to pour it right on the plant. And you see it's like a little bowl. And now when it rains, this will fill and provide water. And then the water that hits the leaves here will then drip down into the basin and water the roots of the plant. Also what we do is we plant a koa tree, and then we plant another native species called the iliahi, which is this, and we plant them one after the other, and Joe will explain why we do that.
So to create biodiversity, we learned that not just koa needs our help, but it's a native forest that needs our help. So by planting these other species like iliahi or the Hawaiian sandalwood, which again, it was almost thought to be extinct. You know, here we are planting this species that's so important that creates biodiversity in our forests, which of course is habitat for all of our native birds, our endangered birds.
Very good. And the iliahi and the koa, do they work? Do they help one another? Are they complementary of one another?
Yeah, it's great question. You know, with the iliahi, it's actually semi-parasitic, so that means it needs a host. And in this case, koa is the perfect host because koa is actually a nitrogen-fixing species. So what that means is it feeds the iliahi underground through its root system. So they create this symbiotic relationship between what's going on underground. And then above ground, when we see the koa flower, which kind of looks like a little Q-tip, is actually unscented. Whereas we look at the iliahi, and the flower of the iliahi is actually beautifully scented, which of course attracts the pollinators. So when they're in flower, when they're in bloom, the iliahi is calling those pollinators over, and it's helping the koa to pollinate to get more seeds and to create that cycle of life. So their symbiotic relationship and this kind of micro balance that has been created over eons of evolution has now allowed us to really learn and then show how important biodiversity really is.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And this is the pasture land that in a few years will be converted into forest. And if you see the trees back in the background, those are plantings from other years. We also have ohia. There's a problem on this island with a disease that's killing ohia, but it doesn't affect the ohia up here because we're at higher elevation. So the ohia trees are beautiful flowering trees. We got up this morning, and what kind of bird did I take a picture of today?
Oh, that's a beautiful picture of an amakihi. And that is a native honey creeper. And it's amazing seeing these little birds and how actually their life had been narrowed down to like under 10% of the island has lost its forest. But to see where the forest is coming back, and then of course where these birds now have a home. And simply what we're doing is creating a habitat for them and making sure that this forest lives forever.
Very good. Thank you, Joe.
Where you have to be super careful. You don't want to break the top off because these, look at the beautiful roots. We want to keep these intact. So we're going to be loaming them. These are really, really moist. So they might, when you take it out, depending on how thick the root system is, want to fall apart. So you keep it over the hole, and you're going to have to end up turning this upside down, and then you're going to let the weight of it fall out into your hand. But you see here, if I'm sitting down, I could have just broken the top off. So I try to not sit down. I do it and you don't want to hit this. The moment this hits the ground, it's so fragile and it breaks the top off. Okay, but I'll show you one of these. We'll go out here in the area as well as under the canopy area. So these are all leaves. There's actually a male and a female. So if you do grab, like here's the female with the flowers. And then there's a male. So if you put them close to each other, that's good.